of my head is showing.
Yeah, everything's showing. Rahh, we're good to go. Everyone, we are back live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru, and I have the good brother all the way from Mombasa, Kenya, Amenkrahh. And Amenkrahh, before we get started, I know when I landed from Nigeria, back from Nigeria a couple of weeks ago, you were roasting me for coming back to the plantation. So I will allow you to continue and finish that roast of me returning back from Nigeria. So go ahead. We'll start off with that. So go ahead and finish your roast because I know you wanted to get that in. So you have the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, you know that we believe that there's only Negroes living in the United States. If you're black and you live in the United States, you are a Negro. Called you. That's what Malcolm X called you. Even Garvey. So a Negro is a person who lives in the United States. There are two types of Negroes. Those would be like what Malcolm X says, house Negroes. Now today, I think the definition of a field Negro is at least someone who has a goddamn passport. If you don't have a passport, you shouldn't be in here talking about Africa like like you an authority. It's like that. If you don't have a passport, then you really aren't taking even the most essential step for going to Africa. So this is a mental problem because you're going to try to convince yourself on the reason why you don't have a passport, and it's only try to get it, or you're not pursuing it vigorously. And that's what I wanted to discuss today about the 6 reasons why blacks should move to Africa, leave and move to Africa. So, brother, I know you, and I know you come several times, and I've seen your expression on your face while you were here, and I'm sure that the ancestors are calling you, and in time you'll make that final trip to this place, not just as a vacation spot, and it's a very great difference in looking at Africa as your home. It has a very deep effect on the person. Even today, 21 years later, I still hesitate when I say I'm an African. It's very much true because I live here, my children here, my family here, my businesses are here. So in every way that counts, I'm literally an African. Mm-hmm.
All right. So today's show, 6 reasons. There's an echo.
Okay.
Okay. We're good. So today's show, 6 reasons why the Black American should move to modern Africa. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and jump right into it. So what's reason number one, Amenkrahh? And Amenkrahh, I know we always somewhat do this, but give everyone your background information, how you lived in LA and what made you move to, for those who are new, what made you relocate to Mombasa?
One of the reasons that I'm going to list, I'm going to talk about my own experiences so people can get to know. But basically, I came in to Kenya in 1996, December. I've never been back to Africa. I spent 6 months or 5 months in South Africa in Johannesburg. I lived there, and I decided that Kenya was better. I came back, and I've been here ever since. So I can discuss more. I have questions, but I can tell you that because of self-hatred, many of us are in a position of doubt. That nigga must have done something wrong. He ain't no nigga is 100% okay. Okay, no, I'm never claiming to be 100% angel. Claiming to be not, have not made mistakes. but in such a way that I try to constantly improve on myself. So I think that is, where I'm a bit different from other people. So to get right into it, reason number one, weather. The weather in Africa is here then, but we don't seem to really take it beyond that point. The weather in the United States horrible. It is not natural weather. It is not natural weather. Freezing cold weather and tornadoes and all these other things that come out there that make people have to buy like a whole nother set of clothing. Some of you guys in the East, the areas, and then some places like in Wyoming, the South Dakota, they just use it for farming and mining. But generally, where we sit in the Eastern Coast region, you're always seeing some sort of extreme weather phenomenon, and the people are being killed. We don't understand that this is not in Africa. So when we start talking about Africans came to the United States before the white man, that they knew good weather. When they came to America, you have to think about this. When they saw their first tornado, first snowstorm, do you think that they want to stay in a place like that? When they had at home it was sunshine all year round, especially around the places around the equator. You just can't beat the and the white man likes to jump up in the snow and make things with no shirt on and try to make you think like that is it's just okay. No, there's nothing good about extreme weather. It ruins productivity. I was a martial artist, sport karate player, and I lived in California. We could practice all year round, but the brothers in the north, they had some practice, and you could see the big difference between us in the West and those train maybe months into the season. I mean, out of the year. So this is what I'm saying. One of the most important reasons, especially for those people who have breathing problems, some people that get sickly, the African weather is like a healing force. Not to mention the fact that weather for us is not in New York. I've been seeing brothers on TV. The guy's holding the microphone. He's talking. He's all cold and freezing with coats on. I'm here in New York at Times Square. And then
Son.
And then he's talking like that's normal. It's not normal. Yeah, so we have to get beyond that and understand the reason why the Caucasian has to put weather at the end of every news conference. It's because that weather can kill you in the United States, all through it. It's not a land that somebody would think about settling. I don't know what the so-called Indians were doing, but they were talking about living in teepees. I don't see like that's going to happen when December rolls around. So my first reason for coming to Africa is the weather.
All right, brother. What's number two?
Okay, but number two, if you have better living conditions in Africa than you do as a black person in the United States.
I agree.
You have better living conditions. If it's from the rural areas to the urban areas, you have so many levels that you can fall into that will catch you. I was watching one of your shows the other day about the capitalism. Capitalism is a selfish product. It means that I have to be above my brother, but that's not African culture. This is why you don't see homeless people living in tents in Africa under bridges. It's because the culture doesn't in Africa. And I know in the United States, you're driving down the freeway and you see continually see poor people living in homeless people, and in the back of your mind, your subconscious mind is saying, "God damn, I sure don't want to be like that." So that's what motivates you to keep on on working. But a lot of people are falling into that idea that somehow you can be starving. It's impossible. Food is everywhere. So better living conditions. Now it's cheaper to rent an apartment in Africa than it is in the United States. Because you see here, you have like in Mombasa, and we have these what they call Swahili houses, where just like a room, and you can have like 6 different rooms in a building, and then you have toilets and showers at the end of the hall. And people actually live like this. I have actually lived like this myself. And what happens is it's like a stepping stone. You move up from that. Rent is like $30 a month. You have, you enjoy your life. You have your confinements. And then when you move up in status, you can move. If you, as most of us entrepreneurs know about, you have a place to move down to. But if you're in the United States, like California, there is no cushion net. It's either an apartment or the underpass, you know, or the river reservoir, So this is true for blacks as well as whites. Capitalism is a selfish form of government in a way, and it is anti-African, as Julius Malema has been stating. So better living conditions are there, and African culture prohibits people to be sleeping on the street. So you don't have that worry as you try to move to and establish yourself in the African continent. Yeah? And another thing that's important to note is when I moved out of the Swahili house into a regular apartment duplex, we were able to hire a house girl. Now, a house girl is a in one's house. Most middle income families do have house girls. These girls who maybe don't have family and they decide that and the African live in the house with them, and ours and a very good girl, and she takes care of our children. She cooks our meals and she washes all the clothes.
Real quick, Amaral. Somebody in the chat room said, "I just watched a documentary with thousands of homeless children in Kenya." Go ahead and address that. And another thing,
yeah, we're beyond that.
Another thing too. Make sure you guys hit that like button. We have 150 people watching, only 32 likes. Please hit that like button. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, we're beyond the propaganda. We get that every time I start talking. There's somebody that comes that. So what's that mean? I think I'm lying. If you come to Africa and you find this multiple so-called pay your flight back to the United States. Now let's get real. Who gonna take me up on that? Get a free trip back to the
your Wi-Fi is starting to, you got that Metro PCS Wi-Fi in Kenya. If you can repeat that.
I'm saying if somebody can come to modern Africa and show me these tools of homeless people, I will pay their ticket back to the States. I'm saying this on live TV. Now, nobody's going to take us. They can't really find it, and they know they can't use the bullshit propaganda that they got as evidence. So let's just get past that. We as black each other. We don't trust each other, and we always, many of us come from this position of negative side, and I don't blame them. Some of them have been to in the United States, and they maybe deal with it by coming up with the negative sides of things. But we're beyond propaganda, so that's just jokes. So as I was saying, anyway.
Hey, Amaral, you might have to turn off your video.
Oh, you can see me.
You might, but let's continue. Let's continue. All right, well, go ahead.
Okay, how was that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I think I know why, because I'm on 2 different devices.
Yeah.
Let me check this device off.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go off of that device and then only have one device. Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so number two, better living conditions. And one of the things that when talking about Africa now building another 44-story luxury apartment building in Nairobi. You can Google Nairobi and then look at the amenities of that building, and it's very inexpensive compared to that you would get, like let's say in Florida or somewhere. This is going. These buildings are popping up everywhere. I did a piece on. I was at a friend's house, and he was living in one of these buildings, and then I started taking pictures from the living room, and you could just see these building cranes, like 5 and 6 of them, where they're just building these tall buildings. It is because of that growth. People want good housing. The middle income African is so better living conditions are in demand. Mhm.
You there?
Hello.
Okay.
Any comments on that one?
No, are we going to number 3?
Africa. One reason why you should come to Africa is because Africa is just at its beginning stages. It is just at its beginning stages, and it is growing extremely fast. I saw one of your videos the other day when you were talking with the brother in Nigeria, and the one where you were in the car with him, and he was saying that population was something like 30 million, and then it was like 80 million. It had more than doubled.
It was like 80 million, and then right now it's close to 200 million.
Yeah, this is modern Africa. People are coming. People are having children. The population is doesn't look like it's going to stop. Its growth is on projected to last for another 50 years. And that's 50 years as far as they can look. They can see that it's going to continue to develop. So it's a very good time to, you're getting at the early stages. And you can see that modern Africa is cleaning up a lot of its issues. You see now on the news that African countries, like here in Kenya, they're tackling corruption seriously. You have other things that are going on where they're building a lot of infrastructure. Most countries have developed a new constitution. You have countries are looking to improve by committing to a vision. Like in Kenya, they have they're calling it Vision 2030, and so they're saying by 2030 they're on track to be a first world nation in Kenya. Kenya to become a first world nation. So everything that government does is gearing it towards that, and you can see the reality of that coming up, despite the fact that somebody wants to say that the Chinese are taking over, their armies and destroy America. Destroy Africa is jokes. Then what's going on the ground is booming economic growth, and for the blacks in the United States to not recognize this, their own detriment when they consider the fact where they're coming from. In fact, I've been seeing a lot of these guys that come on in and they start talking shit about Africa, and then I just turn the question around. But what about the United States? Or they're going to say, "Oh, I saw 100,000 people homeless in Kenya." What about the United States? You see, what you're saying about Kenya, you can always see that's propaganda, because if you really flip it around, it really describes what's going on in the United States right now. So, beginning stages, and the sooner you come, you can start to grow beyond what you could ever do in the United States.
So let me ask you this. Somebody asked us in the chat room, amenkrahh, why? Because we brought up China. China with me is very sensitive topic. Why do Africans need China to build infrastructure in a place like Kenya anyway?
Why do we need China? You need
Yes.
China for, and you need a superpower simply for the same reason the United States uses China. Huh? Like I said, you can just flip it around. People start talking about China, China, China in Africa, and America owes China far more money than all of the African countries combined. They're building subways, and the New York subway built by Chinese. Bridges, they're built by Chinese. In the United States, the Chinese are built, go Google, Chinese are building Chinese factories in the United States as we speak. So clearly that's just propaganda. To even go there, since it never affects the common man. Except when I go down to the the SGR and get on Kenya's first high-speed railway and take a trip. Yes, it was built by the Chinese because Chinese are the #1 builders of and users of a high-speed railway. They surely couldn't come to the United States because the United States don't have high-speed railway. They want to tell you in Florida that they build a high-speed railway. It's a commuter train. You just break it in past propaganda. It's bullshit. Huh? They came up with this big thing in California. They're gonna build a high-speed railway from Los Angeles into San Francisco. They said people started buying up the land and corruption started going everywhere. The project is stalled. It's been there for like 8 years and they still ain't got it off the ground. It's just pictures, cartoon pictures. Because Africa is at its early stages, there's less red tape. Everybody knows that an African country that has I shouldn't say dictator, but has a government where there's less bureaucracy, they get more things done. And the Kenyan governments see this. They used to talk about being democracy, but the word democracy is nowhere in the Constitution. It's just this bullshit. But African countries were made to talk about being democratic, get money from the World Bank and IMF back in the day. But you don't hear about that now because that's just bullshit. You see? The propaganda game is continuing. And to talk about what the Chinese are doing is silly. I see a Chinese man maybe once every month. Maybe. What's he going to do for me? Or what's going to happen? I mean, what? They're going to come and take over Africa? This is so stupid. It is so stupid that the Chinese would bring an army into an African country and take over its resources. Like the people going to stand for that. You see? So Kenya in itself owes China $6 billion. And I said before, on a weekend in China, on an online what you call that thing? Online shopping site. Chinese spent 24 billion shillings in a weekend. So what is 6 billion shillings? It costs more than the money they owe for the China to bring in troops. Can you understand mathematics? The average pay for a U.S. soldier that's coming into a hazardous duty is going to be paid less than 2,000. I don't know. You're going to be paid around 1,800. They put 28,000 troops in Iraq. 28,000. And they kept them there for so long. What was the amount of money that they spent for that? Now, do you think they get based on what they got from the country? Nothing. That's why they had to leave. The people are up rising. You can't afford to keep a large military in the country. Otherwise, whatever you're trying to take from them is useless because it costs too much to get it out. So people need to get that out their mind. Do the math. It's not economically proficient for the United States to come to an African country and then take it over. They go to Congo, they're going to take over Congo? Shit. Congo is 5 times the size of Iraq. You're joking. And then what's the African neighbors going to do? They think they're going to sit there and let the Americans run around in Africa, kill people shitting on?
I got to challenge you on that one. I got to challenge you on this now. I got to play devil's advocate. Now, when the West invaded Libya, what did the African countries do?
No, it's strategic what they did with Libya. because they started saying that Gaddafi was a dictator. That Gaddafi was killing his own people. The propaganda was tremendous. And African countries and Africans don't do like us black people. You see, if I'm walking down the street and a guy steps on my shoe, I go on. We got to talk. We got to it could come down to a fight in no time. But Africans are culturally different. They default by not being violent because they knew they couldn't out-violence him. They couldn't be violence him. Now look at the United States and Europe today after they did what they did in Libya. And remember WikiLeaks. And remember that what's it called? The ambassador of Libya was murdered. And they tried to say like it was on part of the uprising in Egypt. That's bullshit. They killed him on the exact day that the Americans did the invasion on Libya, on the anniversary date. They're full of shit. Huh? They're full of crap. How many Americans were there when they captured Gaddafi and then they shot him? It was all only. And if they tried to do the same thing with Mugabe or any African leader under the thing, no, it would be over. They could not do anything. This is why they're never going to come into an African country. And I know people are looking like, no, they must come. G.I. Joe syndrome. Nothing like that. Remember Black Hawk Down? They tried to go into, and they got their butt kicked. And they said to sit back and reassess themselves because they had all the latest equipment, military helicopters was still defeated by the people. So if they could do that to them in Somalia, you could just know what's going to happen to them if they come into a modern African country. So those are just thoughts that people want to believe on because they don't want to come. House Negroes, they want to believe like there's no reason for us to go to Africa because the white man can just come anytime and take back he's never going to do that. I think if he could do it, he would let China be the number one investor in the African countries. He's done. As far as military is concerned, they got to trick and make up ISIS groups and hide behind kind of trickery things in Syria just to try to believe that they're not involved in it. And definitely they are. But Russians and Russians got involved and they stopped all that nonsense. And then America had what they did to Turkey because Turkey refused to be more underhanded with them. And that's the life in that thing. But that doesn't affect everyday life in Africa. I don't see no missiles coming into my house or ridiculous, man. Damn, come on, you in America. It's everywhere, and you just sit around and walk around the streets like it's no problem. But people getting shot, dead, walking down the street every day.
Hey, Rahh, while I was in Africa, man, there was a story of a lady around the corner from my house just driving down the street. Somebody shot her in the head, randomly, killed her, just driving.
Yeah. So. Not to get off the topic, but on that point of Africa is just at the beginning stages, it's still they have learned a lot of lessons from failed states and failures of other countries. And one of the things that they definitely don't want is guns in the country. So, I mean, I'm here, it's a beautiful day, I'm not gonna hear pow, pow, bing, bing. I won't hear helicopters flying around. Wear bulletproof vests. See, they just have one little gun and a regular uniform, and that's it. Because you don't culturally, Africa is much more conducive for Black people than the United States, where the Caucasian settles all his matters with violence.
David Johnson wants to know, what skills can Black Americans bring to Kenya?
Okay, this is a good question, and thank you. And I want to try to answer that.
Thank you, David, for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. In fact, David, hold on one second before you answer that question. David, do me a favor. Email me your address and I'm gonna send you a postcard for super chatting. Okay, so email me your address, search for huru@gmail.com. I'm gonna send you a postcard. All right, go ahead, Amara.
Yeah, I want to try to get into that question by asking about number 4. I think that's number 4. Okay. Yeah, number 4.
Wrong for.
Yeah, number 4, to eliminate racism. Once you fly over into Africa and away from the Caucasian, you basically, as far as I can see, you eliminate racism. The whites that are here in Africa are nothing like the whites in the United States, as many people will tell you. A lot of Africans come here in Africa, in Kenya. They meet white people. The white people are very friendly to them. Then they go to their country and they're walking down the street and looking around, and then people calling, nigga, go back to Africa, you monkey, you see, and they don't know how to take it because they're coming from their homeland and they never saw white people the way they act when they're in groups, or they're in their own land. And once you go to Africa, you eliminate racism. And I want to make out the stress. This is a very important point. Racism is not hatred. Again, racism is not hatred. Get that concept out your mind. Standardized into many of us. Racism is about economically sabotaging the black man. Go back and look at the many lynchings that they had back in the 1800s. Go look at those pictures. Look closely at them. Notice that many of those blacks hanging from the neck are in suits and ties and very nice clothing. It's because they was not lynching the average worker. They need him. But there was blacks who were coming up in business. This is where the term uppity Negro comes into play. They're not talking about the guy is rude. They're talking about the guy is moving up economically. And racism dictates that any Negro that goes up in status must be kept at a certain level. And you saw what they did to Malcolm X's dad. And you don't just walk up to a man's house, hey nigga, what did you say? No, that's bullshit. They wanted to take economic control of what black, and they ended up killing many of them. These are not poor blacks they were hanging. These were blacks in prominent blacks. Just go back to Black Wall Street and see one of the horrific points about that. I think we should look at also Jesse Holland. He wrote a book about blacks and built the White House and Congress. And we don't think that when you look at the Capitol buildings, they were 75% of the workers were blacks, slaves. So Jesse Holland has done a beautiful book. I urge people I urge Negroes to go look him up, read his story, watch his video on PBS, and then get in touch with yourself to see what length they went through to keep us down. You understand?
Message from Safaricom.
So
say read it or ignore.
Ignore. So we have to look at the situation. Many Negroes, they need to look at the situation from historical standpoints. And I read some of his work, and the way he talks about how George Washington had slaves, his wife had a slave, Essa, and he did when he was in the office was he was not allowed to keep slaves. After 6 months, they were supposed to be set free. So what he did was, after 5 months and a few weeks, he'd send them back to his plant to Virginia for a week, and then bring them back again and reset the clock so they couldn't become free. Now the blacks were not stupid, and they realized this. And so one of his main servants for his wife, she was born in slavery. She took care of George Washington's wife from when she was a child. And she got up when they were deciding to take them back to Virginia. She started packing, but then nobody knew she was packing, so she was going to leave and get her freedom. And when everybody was going to Virginia, she disappeared. And they looked, and George Washington, the first president of the United States, he's not the only one that had slaves, sent bounty hunters to look for her. And when they finally found her, she was blacks, and they refused to let them take her. So they had to give up that chase. You see, now these are stories, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. You don't need to read many. You just read a few, and your heart should be touched. The Negro in you should erode, and the anger in you should grow, and you should see that you're in a helpless situation. Shit, if your great great grandfathers had the same goddamn problem you having today, what are you doing, birthing children and then raising them in the same system? Elimination of racism is a very important thing, and it's something that you have to experience. You really can't put it into words. Where I can give an example of when I was 20, I wanted to be an LAPD police officer, and I was young, and I had prepared myself early for that opportunity, and I went to the training, and I went into the police academy, and then like 3 weeks into the police academy, they called me into the captain's office. He was not there. These two lieutenants, and then they told me, we're gonna take you, we're gonna sack you, fire you, but you can quit now and come back in 6 months. But if we fire you, you can't come back in 6 years. So I took the 6 months. When I came back after 6 months to the day, called the on the phone, personnel lady told me that there's nothing like 6 months. If you resign, you can't come back. You have to start the training all over again fresh. So I went to the training again. I ran the track, I ran the psychiatric, psychological, the medical, I did all of that. And when it came to bringing my birth certificate and get my class, two detectives came, pulled me out, me by myself, out of the room, and told me you can't apply for 6 months. This is the type of racism that I know we all go through, and so many people try to keep this to themselves because you think it's your fault, and it's not your fault. You're living in a system that is designed to keep you down. So, I hope I touched on that guy's point. But number four, elimination of racism opens up great opportunities. Can you imagine this? You need to know how to sell. And many of us are intimidated to go up to people and try to sell. You can have a process of pitching a product or service, but if you don't know how to close that deal, make that money, then you see it's worthless to you. This is what I went through with my 60-day program for a long time. Now I'm making big money because now when I talk to them about the product, I tell them, okay, what do we need to do to close this deal? When you want to pay, Visa or MasterCard. This is what I have learned, and I can talk to people freely because everybody's fucking like me. Everybody's black like me. But if you talk about getting into selling a product and you have to run into white people everywhere, you got to have that psychological problem in your mind saying that this guy don't like blacks, or they're gonna let me go to a certain point. They're not gonna let me go beyond that. So, eliminating racism is one of the most important reasons for coming to Africa. And again, you cannot experience it unless you're here. The feeling of being free and seeing white people in their place. And not on your neck.
Real quick, guys, can we please get the likes up? We have 254 people watching, only 86 likes. Can we please hit that like button? If you're not super chatting, shout out to Doug, the greatest moderator on the planet. Again, please hit that like button. Again, 253 people watching, only 88 likes. Shout out to everybody who super chatted, but please hit that like button. All right, go ahead. Amir. I guess we're on number 5 now.
I don't know if Brian Cole is out there. I just want to shout out to him because
I don't think Brian was on the other day, but he wasn't on. He's not on right now. I don't think so. But shout out to Holopsism. Shout out to the BIO. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we have an active chapter in Kenya for the BAIO. Although guys prefer using WhatsApp as opposed to the blog that they have set up there. But we're very active. We're even there today discussing new deals and opportunities. I'm happy to be a part of that. So I want to shout out to my BAIO people out there. Okay. Number 5. peace of mind.
Mm.
Peace of mind. I'm sure when you were here, you walked around and you saw like there was not a lot of complications.
No, not at all.
If you, yeah, if you knew the land well, you know you just meet with people. People can have you sit down and they can sit down and talk to you for a whole day. And sitting there talking, and before you know it, here comes a plate of food and drink for you. And this is the African culture. It's more laid back, and but besides that, we are used to America where it is a rat race, and it's a rat race, and we're caught up in that, and not don't realize that there is a better way to do things. You can eliminate all issues that they use to get money out our ass. You know, far less taxes, far less regulations, far less police, no SWAT teams in modern Africa, and no gun allowed in the city, in the country itself. So those things just alone keep us just a pleasure to live here. Now, with phone banking, I know many African Americans don't understand phone banking. Just tell you how great it is, because I can actually get on the phone with somebody who I don't know far on the other side of the country, talk to them, sell them the product, and then in less than 30 seconds they can send me the money to via M-Pesa on my phone. In fact, I just got one a few minutes from my chairman for KKF. You know, and this is great as far as doing business. It makes it like hassle free. There's so many avenues of to in Africa that are different from what, and there are a lot of things that they block us from doing in the United States. Like you can't sell lemonade in the street corner. But it's not just lemonade they don't want you to sell. They don't want you to sell. They don't want you to learn the selling process. This is why they come after you and arrest you. Because if you learn this, you won't go for a job. And then if you go in the selling process and you after you get out, people don't have money. So you start now moving into the white areas. That's when you see regulations coming up, blocking you, stopping you. And so you either have two choices: stop doing it or remain inside the black community, with your selling points. Now you can be part of a corporation, but this is the same thing. Most of the time you're under a salary, and you're being controlled, and it's all designed so that you can they can limit you. But we as black people have great potential, as Dr. Claude Anderson always testifies. But we're being hampered by racism, which is an economic sabotage of our people in many ways, and it's just a shame. So number 5 is definitely living in Africa is more peaceful. I just come home, my family's there, my daughters are in pre-primary 2 and in first grade. And when I come home, when I open the door, they always run, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," And I'm like, man, you don't even get that for African American children. You see, they come, they jump on me. It's like a ritual. They have to come and jump on me, but and then hug me. So now normally I'll go to the shop on the way home. Sometimes I don't do it all the time. I've been told. I buy some sweets. So when I come in, they hug me, and then I throw out some of the sweets, and then they really get happy and excited. You know what I'm saying? This is because you love Daddy. Here, take. And then this is a normal African way of life. You don't have. I don't see any problems with my in-laws. Everybody gets along, and Facebook is there. Everybody can see what everybody is doing, and this peace of mind is something I can't stress enough. That you don't know peace of mind when you're in a racist society where most of the population don't like you. You can't go somewhere and drive around someplace without wondering, hoping that you're gonna see a black person walking by, so you can know that you're okay in that area. You know, go up into your throat when you see those red lights flashing in the background, pulling you over. You see, you know, it doesn't. It can kill you. A traffic ticket when I was coming, I had 40-something traffic tickets. In fact, when I LAPD, I had to go a year without getting a traffic ticket. You know, I used to race cars and build, you know, racer cars. I was gonna build 442, and you know, so I used to do drag racing. I was a young guy, and you know, when I went to the background investigator, they told me you got to go a year without traffic tickets. And do you know I went a year without traffic tickets? And then I was done the way I was done. At the end of the day, it's a shame. Here in Africa, the traffic police don't even have cars. They sit at the roadside. Maybe they point their finger at you when you drive by if you're doing something wrong. But most people don't speed. I don't see no speed chase. I've not seen a speed chase with police after.
They happen every day in LA.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know, and you know, it's because that the brother has nothing else to lose. You know, like that brother that was shot and then he put a fake gun by him. You know, he put over for his tail light, and then, you know, I know what the policeman must have told him some shit, and then the guy just said, you know, his life is just like that. He's running. Where was he running to? You know, unless he's running to the fucking airport and getting on a plane, he's nowhere. He's going nowhere. You're just staying in the same crap every year. So many of our people are dying of obesity because of the bad foods that are there, and you know, the stressful life makes you feel like, you know, fuck it, let me just eat this In-N-Out burger and forget, you know, and you know, that's it's a shame. And then we also have a problem with trusting each other, and a large part of us. So peace of mind definitely is number 5. 5 reasons why you should come to Africa. You come, stay, enjoy life. It's just as simple like that.
Hey, real quick, someone in the chat room wants to know, do they have a horse race, like a large horse race in Mombasa, like a Grand Prix or something?
No, they don't have a horse. They don't have a racetrack. Gambling is not allowed. Mombasa is a very good mixture of Islam and Christianity, and neither one likes drinking. So even the bars have to close at around 11:30 at night. So you don't have drunks going around at night. You don't have gambling, such and such those kind of decadent things where, you know. Okay, they do have pole dancing at some nightclubs late at night. I haven't seen them in a long time, but I remember going to Casablanca club here in Mombasa, very well-known club in the 1900s. And you know, sailors used to come to the port of Mombasa, and they would go to this one nightclub, Casablanca. And these girls were doing the pole dancing. And then I don't know whatever happened. I was sitting waiting for a guy, and it's a special room where they do the pole dancing. And somebody walked over, and I found underneath this section of where the poles were. And I was like, wow, you know, this is you know, people. I don't know the full story behind it, but you know, people didn't really get involved in it. You know, wasn't making a lot of money, you know, the pole dancing. So those things are not so much tolerated by Africans in Africa. Not like.
Hold on, real quick, guys. Can we? Oh, go ahead, finish. Go ahead and finish. Sorry about that, I'm wrong. Go ahead and finish.
So you don't get a lot of decadence in Africa. And not to say that the party life isn't jumping. Definitely is jumping, but it's very respectable at the same time.
Guys, can we please get the likes up? We have 257 people, 263 people watching, only 136 likes. Please hit that like button. Again, if you're not super chatting, the least you can do is hit the like button and share. So please hit that like button. Let's pause until I see some of these likes. Yeah, there we go. Keep going.
Getting good information. And some of you, I know, it's that hatred of self makes us not want to, you know, agree right at the beginning. But then when you go home and you start thinking about what we talked about here, you come to realize this is true. Propaganda is killing us. The number one enemy of the black man, as Dennis would tell you, I always say, the number one enemy of the black man is Western mass media, news, propaganda, entertainment, and sports. So anytime you watch that in the United States, or even in Africa, because the channels even come here, you're being inundated with things that are pro-Western and treating African culture as if it is primitive, and if it doesn't have any value. Okay, and that brings me to the last number six, and number six is the U.S. is designed to destroy the black man's family.
Mm.
The U.S. is designed to destroy our family. So many of us are black men have experienced this. Right now, when I say it, you just kind of look at some failed relationship you had, or or a situation that you're in now. Maybe you're in court right now. Maybe you're in dealings with your kid's mom. You know, I feel for you because it's in today's social media world. You can break up with your woman. Not like when I was coming up. You break up with your woman. If you didn't go around where she stayed, you probably would never see her again. But nowadays, she's on Facebook or WhatsApp. You get the opportunity to see what she's doing and writing, and it becomes a more painful personal process. And social media is not helping in that process when we have these relationships and failures. And when I say that the U.S. is designed to destroy your family, it's a connection between economic racism, because the majority of our problems are based on the fact that the black man doesn't have money. He wants to be a father to his children. He wants to be a great provider for his children. But for some reason, circumstances keep happening that you keep finding yourself still trying to catch on, still trying to catch up, still, in the red. So I'm here to tell you that this is designed that way. This is designed that way by the system you live in. There are think tanks. Yes, I said it. Think tanks. Think tanks where they sit around and find a way and decide ways that they can see where they can take money out your ass. The black man. They create laws where it favors the mother. And when they favor the mom because she's the mom, they don't take into account your economic ability to be stable. So many of us are going through this right now, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So I beg you, look at your financial situation and realize that the way they can destroy the black man and keep him down is by taking him down economically. You cannot provide for your children. Then on top of that, there's the educational system. The educational system in the United States is a disaster. You just have to go and read these stories, like I was saying earlier, Jesse Holland, and you can see how much they leave out about black people. And then you send your kids to the school, and they read out of history books that are lie and don't even give you half the credit that you deserve. Why would you even stay in a country like that? Why would you produce children and raise them in a system where they are instant minorities and heaped with racism and oppression? Okay? So this is not just for blacks now. Whites also are getting economically sabotaged, but for blacks it's far worse. So when you come into Africa, it's either Africa has the greatest traders in the world. The trading minds of many of these Africans I do business with is just totally brilliant and simple. And it's based on relationships. You see, I have money because of my little community that I'm in. I can go to the store and I know the store owner personally. He's black. So I can go, hey man, give me milk and give me this and I'll pay you tomorrow. It's no problem because he knows me. He knows where I live. I know where he lives. This is the community situation in Africa, and this is African culture. This is the culture. So it's not something that is like should not happen. It happens all the time, and it works itself out beautifully. So, in the area of education, once again, the educational system in Africa is far better than the United States. Teachers don't take that nonsense from the children. Children are well disciplined, like, so you're gonna get no school shootings. People don't even think like that. I work in a school here with 2,000 primary students, 2,200 of them. I deal with them on a daily basis. I know them personally, moms and their fathers. So I'm telling you that the United States is designed to destroy your family, whereas the African culture still puts family first. It's not uncommon for one African brother that's doing great to send money back home so that his younger cousin can go to school. You understand? This is what they do. This is culturally inclined in the people. So I know that if something happened where I was take care of my kids, heaven forbid, I know I have family and friends who would help me, and you just don't get that in the United States because of capitalism. Nobody has money, so you're always afraid that somebody might ask you for money. So you got to get out of that. And the only way to get out of it is to get on a plane, come to modern Africa. Hmm? The United States is designed to destroy your family. Remember Khalid Muhammad, his son. Remember Bill Cosby, his son, his daughter who died in February. I don't even.
Who?
Did you hear about that?
Khalid
Bill
Muhammad?
Cosby's daughter.
His daughter?
Khalid Muhammad's son changed his name and went
Right,
Gray and
yeah. Hold on, what's Khalid Muhammad's son's name? Damn, he didn't pass away though, did he?
no, he didn't pass away. But Bill Cosby's daughter
Passed away.
passed away in February, just dropped dead. Now I looked all over the internet to see if I could find where she was sick.
Farrah Gray. That's his name, Farrah Gray.
Aaron Gray. But I never even seen Bill Cosby's daughter. She just like on one day just dropped dead. They didn't never say she was on the Breakfast Club talking and defending her father. Some months before that, she looked perfectly healthy, and then all of a sudden, news today. Essa Cosby has died at age 44. And we get this all the time, but we are desensitized to this now. We are desensitized to this now. So when a preacher gets on the podium and starts talking reality at Aretha Franklin's funeral, blacks getting upset because they want to live in fantasy land. They don't want to be reminded that the situation is dire, and many of us are just following that line, and it's unfortunate. But if you have a family and you have problems with your family, or you have to remember this. And I don't want to get a lot of women angry with me. Black women angry with me. When you are a woman, a black woman or any woman, you can only have one family. You can only have one complete family. That's why it is very important for you to pick the right man. Because if you get with that man and he gives you a child, you are a family. If he leaves and it's just you and your kid, that's not a complete family. A woman can only have one complete family. She can get another man, family, because that man is not the father of an extended family. However, the black man can have as many families as he can economically take. I know some of us are so far beyond that is so far beyond our thinking that you want to even bring up religion, even though you don't go to church, and say that, oh no, it's not good for a man to have more than one woman. But in Africa and Kenya's constitution, they allow that. They put it in the constitution right here in saying that in 2010, saying that a man can have more than one legal wife. Because up country, this is what's going on. Up country, they guys, these big time farmers are hives, and everybody's getting along. So, U.S. in its concept is designed to destroy families, and then make the mom and the father and the mother both consumers. So when they force your family to separate, now you got to buy your own refrigerator. She got to buy a refrigerator. You got to have your own stove. You got to have your own car. She gonna have her own car. So this is how they're trying to grow the economy. These think tanks, they come up with this nonsense, and they don't even care about what they're doing to the black family. And they pretty much got us hooked on that. So definitely number stress is designed to destroy your family. It just doesn't make any sense for you today to give birth to children and then raise them in the United States. Let them go through the same. I mean, if you really love your children, you would try to look for an alternative for that for no other reason except the fact that they get it. You can see that now they're saying that each generation is becoming poorer than the generation previous. Letting your children, some of you, set up to fail. When you should try to look at Africa because there's so much opportunity going on. You might have a rough time at the beginning, difficult before they become easy. But at the end of the day, Africa is growing at too fast a pace that you could be sitting on and not be finding opportunities to make money. And you don't need a lot of money to get started.
Guys, let's get the likes up. We have 273 people watching, only 170 like. Please hit that like button. Please hit that like button. Amarah, capitalism. Let's talk about that. Capitalism in regards to Africa. I think I started a firestorm on Facebook because I said capitalism. I mean, you being a Pan African without capitalism, Pan African in vain. What are your thoughts on capitalism in regards to Africa?
I don't really look at it as so much because I don't really deal with it dealings because the system is mostly trade. But Julius Malema in South Africa did a speech, and I think I put it up on the Black Man's website, Black Man's Guide to Visiting Africa website, and talking about how capitalism is an enemy of Africans. And in the same statement, he started talking about Black Americans and how we are being suffering in the United States. So when they see me talking about Africa, I'm not the only one. You can go see a prominent South African leader tell you that they want the land back from the Mzungu. He knows the history and he knows our history, which he started talking about in that piece. So you can go to my Black Man's Guide African website to see it. Now, as far as capitalism, you must realize that capitalism, if you live you go to a city in Africa and you look around and you go, this is capitalism. You see all the big buildings, you see all the people hustling around, and you think, this is wrong. There's basically a very simple form of trade of capitalism, if at all. But what really goes on in the rural areas, there is no capitalism. They live in the rural areas. They don't run around capitalism in the rural areas. African culture is anti-capitalism. You go, you grow food, you go to your neighbor, you trade that food for something that you need. You barter that food, or there's not so much money in trading in up country in the rural areas of Africa. They don't speak English in the rural areas. They don't. Some of them don't even speak Swahili in the rural areas, and that majority live in those rural areas. And in Kenya, they put electricity almost through all the country. So these people are now getting phones, getting TV, and seeing what's happening in the city. And then their young boys are leaving the countryside and going into the city and trying to look for jobs. But if they fail or if they have a problem, they can always go back up country where capitalism isn't an issue. They can just go back to their friend's house, grab a plate, eat some food, sit back, sleep for a while, wake up, till some land with their friend, talk, shoot the breeze. And that's what life is. So this thing of capitalism is part of the rat race that got you in. It's all based on credit. And the credit is a killer for our people. We can't even get a fucking plane ticket to come to Africa because credit has got us down. And this is a shame. But I think that Black people see that there's an alternative, and a very is growing, and it's not going to stop growing. As I speak to you, I'm just seeing that growth. So capitalism, I think I would say it's a non-issue as far as day-to-day living and trying to survive in modern Africa. It's a non-issue. You're going to meet people, you're going to do business with them, or you're going to make friends with them, or you're going to make contacts with them. Because social media is so wide here, it's just, you can't get it better. You can't get a better deal. I'm making deals on WhatsApp. I'm making the school. So tell me, what would you like to pay for this? doing business. You see, transaction is covered. Everybody has a copy of that transaction when the money was sent to my phone. So it's like, you know, you got to come here and see for yourself. You should not be afraid. And if you become afraid, you should look at the 6 points I'm telling you, go over them. Stop being fooled by the propaganda. They spend billions of dollars every year on propaganda to make you not want to come to Africa and stay in the United States. You are like cattle to them. You see, they don't see you as a human being. They don't want you to go. They didn't want you to come and stay in the U.S. and pay, work and pay taxes. That's what they see us, like a tax person. You know. So damn, nobody wants the tax revenue. So they're gonna keep blacks in confused and make them stay. But you got only one life. You only have one life. My God, if I had it all over to do again, I would have came 10 years earlier, very far. But as I stand here in front of you, see, I have made millions in Kenya, and I have went down, made millions, went down, and again, you know, we're going to do the same thing. And very excited about the future. The opportunity is just there. 22,000 primary schools. How many do I need to run my program? You see, so you know, 4 million primary students plus. You know, that's just for class 8s. No, that's for class 6, 7, and 8. 4 million opportunities for me to sell my service to them. And you know, I was talking with the guys in the BAIO. Some of them have joined the program that I have created, and they like it, and the kids like it. And you know, you just do one sale at a time. So you know, in fact, when you talk about opportunities, that's what I was saying about don't, because it's no opportunities there. It's too small. It doesn't do trade with its neighbors. Every business that I replicate in Kenya, I can just shift it over to Tanzania, and because the Tanzanians like what Kenyans do, they see the Kenyan does better than them. They grab anything that comes from Kenya and try to implement it. You see, so Uganda is going through a few problems right now, but when they adjust themselves, you know, I'm sure the economy is going to start booming again. And then right after Uganda, you got DRC and Kinshasa. Oh my God, those places are going to be booming. They're going to be booming in the next years, you know. And then right after that, you got Nigeria, and Nigeria is building the biggest oil refinery in the world. They will no longer have to purchase refined oil. They can develop it themselves. Africa has now almost unlimited supply of natural gas. Who's the number one producer of natural gas? I think it's China. If it's not China, it's Russia. United States exports. United States exports, I think, 20% of its natural gas, but it's going down. You know, they murdered that guy because he wrote that he made that video about how the resources in America are depleted at a very fast rate, and you know, this there again. So you have United States as a producer of coal, but they're now importing coal from China, and you know, they have oil, but they're now importing oil, as we all know, and the situation only gets worse. And the only way they can compete, only way the United States can compete on the national stage, not like before, is if they reduce the amount of money they pay the labor force. And this is why you get jobs paying little to nothing, and blacks are now running around have just to make ends meet. You won't have that problem when you come to Africa. You know, I'm just saying. So you know, I just tell everybody that they should, you know, make that trip. And if I can be of any assistance for those people who are not haters, I'll be glad to, you know, I would be glad to help them or answer any of their questions. How was the Wi-Fi?
All right, brother. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Is there anything else you want to share in closing, Grandmaster?
Okay. Once again, I want to thank you for having me on.
Anytime.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching your videos from Nigeria, especially the one with the Black American guy there. I could just feel like you know, I could. And when I go to Nigeria, I hope you can hook me up with him. So,
with brother John Cashin.
John Castle, yeah, because we want to take our business into Nigeria. It's a bit difficult because of the visa situation that they have in Nigeria. But I think for African countries, I think it's very relaxed. Not so much for they do Black Americans, but we'll see how it goes, and you know I look forward to doing more shows. I'll do with comments on the offline.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
All right,
but
guys. Well,
otherwise you
we,
can
we
get me.
appreciate you guys joining us. Everyone in the chat room, thank you so much for joining. Everyone who super chatted, thank you for the super chats. Make sure you go do search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Please follow me on social media. Also go to search for huru.com, DynasMir.com, Amazon.com, search your name, Dynasty Mir. Please buy a book. And also go to AfricaPersonified.Africa. Until next time, family, I might come back on later on tonight. Not sure, but until next time, family, peace.
Peace.